By name. Lock, shock, barrel.
Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am once again challenging myself to make 3 masks in one build, and as it is the season currently, I know that you're probably sick of the Mariah Carey song already, but one of my favorite movies of all time in the Christmas genre is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Every year for the past couple of years, it's kind of been a channel tradition for me to try and tackle something from the movie. And I thought, why not start this season off with a lock, shock, and barrel mask from the show. So I'm going to try and template 3 masks out, build them out of EVA foam, and paint them all while my house is currently under construction. Hooray. So today we're going to build lock, shock, and barrels masks from The Nightmare Before Christmas out of EVA foam. Free templates down in the description below. Let's get to building. If you want to build this along with me, under the video hit the description, scroll all the way down to the very bottom, and you'll find 3 links to the trio of masks I'm building today. You'd be surprised how many people each week I have to tell how to find the templates. Yeah. Print the PDF file, which my templates are taped to an American Standard letter size piece of paper that's like 8.5 inches by 11. Cut out the template and trace it onto your materials. I am using 6mm EVA foam for most of these masks. With the light colored foam, you can just use a pencil to mark your lines. Assembly for this lock mask is fairly simple. I lay down a layer of contact cement on all the edges and let the glue set up for a few minutes until it's no longer wet. I like to start by closing up the darts. Those are the large V-cuts in the template. Then, after that, I work my way around the edges, joining pieces together. Make sure to use the registration marks to help you keep things aligned. Those are the U-shaped marks all along the edges. The top portion of the mask on the inside of the horns helps to pull the mask closed, but I did have to go in afterwards and shape it a little bit with a heat gun to bring the sides in just a little bit more. Try to keep your outside edges flush with each other to prevent having to do much sanding later. I have a couple of spots that are sitting a little proud of adjoining pieces, and I really need to round over the forehead area a little bit, so I start with a sanding drum on my rotary tool and knock off the bulk of the shape. Once I am happy with that, I'll switch over to a stone bit and smooth over all the lines that the sandpaper leaves behind. Worst case, any mistakes or divots that I accidentally leave into it, I can just kind of declare them as battle damage later. I chose to cut the mouth out after I had fully assembled it, just to help prevent any distortion or misalignments that may have took place. Once the hole is cut out, I back it with another piece of foam. Because of the curves of the mouth both directions, it doesn't glue in exactly like I would have needed it to, and it doesn't give me enough surface to make contact for. I wanted to add his sharp teeth, so to create a step down, I used some 4mm foam for them. And of course, I forgot to record the teeth going in, but I did include the pattern for them in the template. Not like it's anything super complicated, you're literally just attaching them to the lip line and then also down to the mouth backing. Two coats of Plasti-Dip followed by a quick coat of red spray paint. Locke's devil mask in the movie is a lot lighter than this vibrant red, almost a pinkish color in certain scenes, so I started by doing the dirty washes first to get the crevices and followed it up with some lighter dry brushes using lighter reds and pinks over the top. I even used a sponge here and there to make the surface a little more random. When you get done, you can add strapping to the back if you want to. With the limited time, I chose to make this a wall hanger instead and left them off. The template for my builds come with a cover page that will explain all the marks and colors you see on the pattern. Generally, blue is a 45-degree angle cut inward, and a green highlighted edge is an outward cut. An asterisk followed by an L means that it's for the left side. To get the right side, you turn the pattern face side down and trace it again. This makes your end result more symmetrical and saves on the amount of paper you need for the patterns. Black dotted lines with a number and a letter next to them mean this part was too big to fit on the page, so I had to cut it into pieces. Tape these together before you trace them. Here I am cutting the angles and special markings onto the pattern pieces. Inward cuts are made by slanting your blade to a 45-degree angle, cutting a wedge under the line from the edge of the part. An outward cut, like the green line on the bottom of this undernose cut, you cut a wedge that extends past the pattern line. The red line is just a scoring of the foam halfway through on the back side of the mask to allow for the nose to fold up and give it shape. When cutting EVA, always use a sharp blade so it doesn't rip through the foam, and be careful of body parts. Most crafters have scars on the tops of their hands where the blade is slipped. A majority of mine come from moving too fast or zoning out as I make a bunch of repetitive cuts, so be careful. Just like with Locke, I start by closing up my darts along the edges and join my halves together following the registration marks on the parts, the little U-shaped things, remember? Looking back at it, I probably should have used a denser foam with these masks as they span a pretty large area. There are a number of things you could do to add rigidity after the fact, but I was just trying to push through and work as quickly as possible. You could add an extra layer of foam on the inside to help pull things together. You could also add wires or do what I did and just kind of heat form it and hope for the best. It does sag just a little bit, but I can always coerce it with one of those other fixes later. Once again, I waited to cut the mouth until it was fully assembled. This time the mask just gets the frown pushed out. I cut the flap on the top, leaving the bottom still attached, and using hot glue on the inside to hold the protruding lip in place, I held it there. I also go ahead and backfill the slots I made earlier to help the nose with the same hot glue. You could also cut a wedge of foam to force the line out, but I figured since I already had the hot glue heated up and ready to go, it was easier to just hold the parts in place as the glue cooled. Two coats of Plasti-Dip and a quick sloppy spray of pale greenish blue spray paint. Once again, my spray paint can is a bit more vibrant than my intended color, so I have to knock back the color a little bit. Most of the Halloween characters in Nightmare Before Christmas have kind of a ghostly paleness to them, so I'm going to weather backwards than I normally would do. I push the wet brown and black acrylic paint into the few crevices on this witch mask and wipe away most of it. This really kind of helps to vary the colors and highlight the few details the mask has. Then I mix a lighter tint of my starting color, making lighter passes with the brush as I work around the mask, hitting the edges with lighter and lighter colors until I'm satisfied with the contrast. Last on my list to do today is Beryl, which is dressed like a skeleton in the movie, filling out the trick-or-treat trio with his witch and devilish partners in crime. The forehead, chin, and top layer of teeth are all using 6mm EVA foam. For the bottom teeth, I used 4mm just so that it would sit back a little bit from the uppers. The instructions are pretty much the same as the others. Cut out the template, trace it on the materials, and cut them out. Sometimes my templates only have a highlighted edge on small portions. Like on this pattern, I wanted the nose to stick out a little forward to make Barrel's pig nose on his mask. I just needed the inward angle about 1 inch off the middle of each quarter to get this effect. You can either start with an angle cut and transition into a straight up and down, or vice versa. Or you could even make the cut separately. If you do it this way, you just have to cut a little wedge on the inside to meet the two angles at the start and stopping point to release it from each other. With thousands of hours of practice, I'm pretty comfortable with a rotary tool. To make the teeth dimensions, I simply sand back a little line on both sides of each tooth and round over the top a little. Once a majority of the shaping is done with the sanding drum, I switch over to the stone bit to smooth everything out again. If you are not comfortable trying to carve these lines in using just one piece, you could just as easily cut the teeth individually. You may need to number them if you do it that way, as the teeth get smaller as you work towards the end, and there's a slight curve upwards, so you might accidentally put the left on the wrong side or the right on the wrong side. By now you should have the routine down for assembly, but if you skipped ahead for just this mask, I could force you right here to watch the rest of the sections. What a conundrum I have. I guess I'll be helpful. You contact cement all the edges, close the darts, then line up the registration marks on the edge of all joining pieces. Work slowly, methodically, and carefully. Before I stuck the teeth down, I marked out where they were going to line up by holding it on the mask and tracing. Using seams and registration marks as a guide, I mirror that spot to the other side, then contact cement the mask and the 4 segments of teeth to then plop onto each other permanently. Two coats of Plasti-Dip, and an extra messy coat of white spray paint afterwards. So I did say my house is under construction in the intro. I did my best to work around the construction crew's equipment left under my carport, where I do most of my painting and outside building stuff. While doing this mask, I tripped over an air compressor in the dark, and this mask landed face down in a pile of dirt and debris while still wet. I tried my best to get it off, but decided it didn't really have to be perfect. This will just make my mask slightly gritty and we'll say weathered in spots. Same basic concept as the other paint schemes. Acrylic washes were first, then lighting up the main surface. The paint variation of all these are a bit subtle and don't really seem to photograph well or video well the detail that's in them. It may be time for me to upgrade my camera. I've had this one for like 6 years and I don't know, maybe Sandy Claus will bring me one for Christmas. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think they turned out pretty great. Definitely something that was not easy to try and get all 3 of them done in a week. I didn't put the elastic on them like I typically do. My thought was that these would be more of a wall hanger instead of something that somebody would wear, but I could just as easily add elastic to the back and probably some foam padding because they are a lot bigger than they need to be. And it would be an easy fix. Another easy fix if you wanted to build these yourselves to actually wear them, when you go to print them off, print them at like 90% scale or maybe a little bit smaller if you got a smaller head. I would say 90% would probably fit me a little bit closer to the right size. But yeah, maybe you will try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull something from your favorite Christmas movie and bring it into the real world and hang it on a wall. Yeah, almost lost it there. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. I've always been kind of partial to the barrel. I'll let you pick which one. Shock, lock, shock, lock, shock, lock, shock, lock. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.